Hey friends, today was the first day of summer vacation for my daughter, who's 5, and it felt a little like the first day of summer vacation for me. There's this thing. I mean, anybody who's had a child, I'm sure, has experienced this. The vicarious excitement, the vicarious experience of going of the things we remember as being big events or just a big deal in our life when we were younger, and then our kids start to have some of those experiences and we kind of relive them. It's really it's really fun to sort of um, revisit what it feels like to wake up on a Thursday morning and there's no school and you just get to hang out all day. And in this particular case, she was hanging out with me all day because mama's still going to school. And we had a really interesting day. And the thing that jumped out at me, there was something because we normally during the school year, I normally get her up in time to do some violin practice before breakfast and then going to school. And and I adjust the time based on bedtime, based on how much sleep she got, etc., how rested she is. If I think she's a little bit under the weather, I'll not wake her up, or I'll wake her up a half hour later and we'll do a little less or whatever. So so anyway, I've almost in a weird way been looking forward to this because now I can just let her sleep every morning. And it's not it the thing that it is that is not the case for me when it becomes summer vacation is that I suddenly have time on my hands. All of a sudden, I go from feeling like I have more autonomy over what I do and when to having much less. All of a sudden, I'm on duty pretty regularly. and and I today was the kickoff of that. It was the start. And the thing that jumped out at me, though, the thing that I noticed about a lot of my sort of reference points, or maybe it's my main reference point for how I'm relating to my daughter, often revolves around music. And when the thing about a day like today is we can take our time with practice. We can take our time. There's no rush to get through practice. There's no rush to get to we can just sort of like I can let whatever is happening take whatever time it takes. We can throw breaks in. And that can be in some ways good. There can sort of be a point of diminishing returns where it's like we've just been at it too long. We need to stop doing. We just need to stop practicing. But because again, we're working with a 5-year-old here. But what I noticed today was that even though musical practice is tough. Musical practice is work. It's not easy, and kids like things that are easy. But even though we hit some, even though there was some tough patches today, she kept coming back and saying, "No, I want to do this. No, I want to do this." And I would sort of like, I was at a place where I was like, "All right, I'm gonna, I'm gonna propose certain things. And in some cases, there's gonna be things where I hold the line and I sort of insist that we do certain things and kind of knock back down on certain important elements. But I'd also kind of made up my mind I'm gonna go easy, and there's gonna be stuff that I that I'm negotiable on. I'm going to let myself let go of certain things, especially when it's like, how many times are we going to do this? There's things that need work, and how hard are we going to lean into that? And I just had sort of made up my mind to kind of say, okay, I back up. So what was cool about that was that every time I did that, she leaned in. She kind of stepped up and was like, no, I want to do this now. And I would say, well, we don't need to do it that many times. We can just do it, a couple times. And she'll say, no, I want to do it all the times. And then, when our music session was over, we just had a blast of a day. She went outside. I turned on the sprinklers and sprayed her with the hose. Like it was just like the first day of summer break. It felt like the first day of summer break. And I think about what came. I keep trying to get to the thing that came through for me, but the thing that came through for me is that my feeling about music and my approach to music, my attraction to music, is like it's like being called into a kind of freedom, or into a kind of just a joy of doing something I love. And so it felt really good to associate a day of practice with immediately having a wonderful day together, because it was just the two of us all day. It was us from morning until 5 p.m., 5:30. And, I think about this a lot. I think about, what am I really trying to instill in my daughter with music? There's a sense of like, I've said some things explicitly to my wife in conversation. I've thought certain thoughts to myself, but when and I'm still, I think, in a way formulating that, but when I really kind of think about it as like, well, what am I really trying to impart or give? It's that love of music. It's that joy of music. It's the thing is, there's so much hard work in it. There's so much hard work. There's so many technical and even later on theoretical, and there's just so many elements to it that make it a challenging task, cognitively challenging, physically challenging. And so it's easy to focus on that. It's easy to focus on improvement and building skills and getting better. And it's even easy to sort of frame our goals in those terms. It's easy to think about like, well, my goal is to get to a certain level. Or, to be able to play a certain piece, maybe. But when I really think about what does music give me on the deepest level, why is it that I'm just almost like addicted to it? Like if I could spend all day just practicing and making music and performing, I would. And the answer is because I have had permission. I was given a basis of skill. And then when I became mature enough to have my own, to declare and decide on my own direction, I was given the freedom to do that. And then I started building my own relationship to it, and building my own momentum, building my own approach. and that's the, it's almost like sometimes I get fixated on imparting certain skills because I think that they're important, and they are. Just I was reading, I downloaded, for whatever reason, I was on the Berklee College of Music website recently, and I downloaded their music theory handbook. They have like a 75-page music theory PDF, and I read it, and I was like, I do all this stuff with my daughter already, and she's 5. I'm like, this is what we're doing. It's like, and this is Berklee, right? They know what they're talking about. They know what's foundational, but the thing is, I know what's foundational too. That's what I'm kind of learning about myself. I know what's foundational. I know the things that will help a musician unlock certain doors. And a lot of times it's not the things you'd think it would be. It's not always just more technique, or it's a lot of times it's certain sort of ear training and theoretical understanding the structure of music. It's getting really inside of it. And but at the end of the day, none of those things. The thing is, that's what fascinates me about it. So that's where I get my joy. But that's not the only way to get joy, and that doesn't mean that those things are the things that will bring joy. I can impart them, and I probably will continue doing so to my students and to my daughter. But important to remember that ultimately that joy is about our own discovery and what we fall in love with in the art form. And that's a little different for everybody. It's just a little different for everybody. So that came through today, and I think the association of music with this very joyous day, the sort of juxtaposition of a practice session with then just play. I was like, yes, this is good. We're building the right associations, and not to mention I'm experiencing the right associations. So that's what happened today, folks. Joy, it was a joy of music, a joy of musical day. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful day. I will see you soon.